All right, I know I'm a little bit late to this whole NBA against tanking rules news, but I figured I'd talk about it because I do actually have a lot of thoughts about tanking and what it means for the league. But first, let's go over the rules that the NBA said that they are not going to implement. But again, these are rules that they have talked about in league meetings. It means absolutely nothing in regards to if they're actually going to implement these. This is just what the league's been talking about as possible rules to go against tanking. So this first one says that the first round draft picks can be protected only for the top 4 or top 14 plus selections. I actually really like this rule because I think it does counter a lot of what teams try to do with their pick protections and what they're doing with tanking. Obviously, this takes a specific shot at the Utah Jazz, in my opinion, because they're, a top 8 protected pick, or it goes to the Thunder, I think, and that's exactly what the Jazz are trying to avoid, and they're just trying to lose as many games as possible in order to retain their pick. But I think that this would be good. The only real concern I have is if a team is in like the top 5 or 6 pick range with their record, and they say, hey, let's make sure we can get underneath to the 4, 3, or 2 pick. And that very well could happen with a lot of teams, and obviously not every team in the league is going to be good at once, and I think that if there's a competition between 2 teams for one of those picks, that they might go all in on that, but that might only be one team in the association. So overall, I do really like this. Limiting protections is something that I think is very valuable. But let's look at the next one. It says lottery odds freeze at the trade deadline or a later date. Why? This literally just encourages tanking at the beginning of the year. We actually might see that the Utah Jazz, I'm sorry, Jazz fans, I keep mentioning y'all, but again, it's the most out there tank thing. I mean, the Kings aren't trying to lose games. I think they're just that bad, but there's going to be teams that start out 1-30, 1-40, like 5-20. Like, this is just going to encourage tanking at the beginning of the year. And to me, if there's anything that the NBA should avoid, it's bad performances at the beginning of the year. They should focus on the start of the year being the prime opportunity for teams to show themselves and show what they really do. Because then you also might have an instance where Zion, you've got a knee surgery during training camp, so you're going to be out until the All-Star break. And then it's just like, well, this team's not playing their star player for the first half of the year, so what's the point in watching? And people and fans, especially casual fans, are going to lose interest in these teams at the All-Star break, and that's just overall, to me, not a good thing for the league. But this next one says no longer allowing a team to pick in the top 4 in consecutive years and or after consecutive bottom 3 finishes. Now, I know there's been a lot of hype around this rule, and a lot of people are really for it. I think I'm one of the few people that is against it. Now, I'm not heavily against it, right? I definitely think that this is not the worst one here, but I just don't love this rule because if there is a team that is actually bad, why are you punishing them for being bad? They're not trying to lose. Like, the easiest instance I can think is the Pelicans this year. They gave away their pick in the Derek Queen trade. They don't really care about tanking right now. They are doing it purely for the love of the game and no draft odds. So why are we punishing these bad teams for either being young or just not that good, right? You look at someone like a team like the Wizards, where obviously I think there are some things that they're doing that might bring you more towards the side of, hey, they're tanking, but why punish a team of young players that haven't quite figured it out yet, And again, maybe you don't do this for 2 years. Maybe this is like if they are a bottom 3 seed 5 years in a row, maybe I can understand that. But I just overall I'm against this rule because as a fan of as a person who's been a fan of a bad team for my entire life, I don't like that, right? The Phoenix Suns for so many years were a very, very bad team. And it wasn't like they were tanking because we picked Dragan Bender and DeAndre Ayton when we got those high picks. So again, it might not be a instance where the team is trying to be bad. They might just be bad. And I don't love that those teams might get punished for that. But I can definitely see the good in that rule. Let's move on to the next one, though. And this one says teams can't pick in the top 4 the year after making the conference finals. Well, screw you, Indiana. Jeez. Again, I feel like this is a direct shot at Indiana. I don't think that there is any world where something like this is implemented because it's that dumb. I don't even think that this is really that, like, doable. Like, again, I think the only situation where something like this is even possible is an instance like the Pacers this year where their star player is hurt and suddenly without our star player, we're not very good. Like, I can't remember a time a team was in the conference finals the year before and then intentionally tanking with a fully healthy roster the next year. I don't even think that there is an instance in my memory of that happening. Like, not even just in recent years, but just ever. All right, I think that this is a pretty dumb rule and just a direct shot at the Indiana Pacers. So I'm sorry, Pacers fans, but hey, you guys might get someone like DeBonsa next to Halliburton, geez, and that would be fun. The next one, lottery odds allocated based on 2-year records. To me, this doesn't solve a whole lot of issues. Teams are just going to tank for 2 years in a row. I know that there's been talk of this working in like the WNBA. Now, I'm not very knowledgeable on the WNBA at all. I watch cool games every now and then, right? I watch the Mercury go to the finals. Let's go Mercury. But this, to me, changes not that much because teams are going to tank for multiple years, and that will just be worse for the league, in my opinion. Let me know in the comments or somewhere else if you guys think that this is, if there's even like light with this or if I'm missing something, because I feel like I am. But to me, this doesn't solve the issue at hand. Next one is the lottery is extended to include all play-in teams. Now, this is really interesting because this encourages the play-in, but also encourages the draft. And I think if you're going to be a team that's in the play-in and you're going to have a chance at the lottery, why not just lose more to get a higher lottery chance, unless you're a team like maybe the Charlotte Hornets this year who have been on a tear. Shout out to the Hornets. Shout out LaMelo. I just saw he had a 30-something point game a few nights ago. But if a team like the Charlotte Hornets says, hey, if we're in the play-in, right, and we get a lottery pick, then we might be able to like sneak a series here and there, right? Because the Hornets are a fireworks show of a team, right? They can either be a dud or beat your favorite team by 50, and there's no in between. So I think this is encouraging that type of style, but I don't love this because it scares me a little bit. And what I mean by that is take the Miami Heat in, I think it was 2023, where they made the finals as the 8th seeded play-in team. If you were to tell me that happened this year, and let's say that Heat team got Cam Boozer, DeBonsa, or Peterson, that would be some other level of just rigged, in my opinion. Obviously, it's not rigged, but that would just be so incredibly lucky, and just it would make a lot of what the league has in terms of standings and teams and competitive organization. I think that would just take it out. Again, this one scares me, but I also can see how it would benefit a lot of competition, and I like it. And the last one is just flatten odds for all lottery teams. Okay, I can get behind this one. Where every team, let's say, has a 10% chance to win the lottery. I actually am on board with this one. I think it's the most boring of the bunch, and maybe that's why I'm just like meh with it. But it is one of the better ones of the bunch, and I think that it would reduce tanking, I guess, but how much, I don't know, right? Because you're still trying to stay within the lottery. Again, I don't think there's a solution to solving tanking. That one is just a kind of one that you just fall back on, right? If none of these others seem like they're a good option, you fall back on that if you're going to make a change. But let's not talk about these NBA rules now, and let's talk about my opinion on tanking, because I have a lot of thoughts about losing on purpose. Starting with, why are we trying to discourage tanking? It makes not a lot of sense to me, because tanking is good for teams to do, right? Obviously, the on-court product and viewer rates and all that are going to plummet with these losing teams. But are they really going to be up if these teams are trying to win? Are you telling me casuals are tuning into the Utah Jazz to see if they beat the Bulls on a random Tuesday? I don't really think so, right? The only reason I could see someone disliking tanking is, let's take the Lakers, for example, who I don't know the exact seeding right now, but I know that they're pretty low in the standings with a chance to either be in the play-in or playoffs. If they have a stretch of 5 games at the end of the year where it's all 5 tanking teams and they jump up, as opposed to someone like, let's say, the Clippers, who maybe have 5 competitive teams, I can see why people don't like tanking, because then it's maybe a dishonest playoff spot, so to say. But I don't really think that fans care that much about tanking. I'm going to be honest. You're telling me someone who doesn't know a lot about basketball is tuning into the Utah Jazz and wondering, like, where's Jaren Jackson Jr.? You know, I don't think that casuals really care that the Jazz are trying to lose, right? And I think that the diehard fans know, hey, if we lose more games, we get a higher pick, so why not lose more games? I think that is one of the biggest benefits of tanking, is it gives losing organizations and losing seasons something to look forward to. I think trying to get rid of that would only cause more misery among fans. I think it would be harder for teams to really give fans something to hope for, especially if they know they're not good, right? If you're a Kings fan, right, you're not looking for a win. And if you also are punished for being bad, then what's the point in even like being a team at that point, you know? It frustrates me that the NBA is trying to get rid of this, because I truly think tanking is healthy, because it gives all types of fans something to look forward to. And if a casual is wondering, like, hey, where are the star players for these bad teams? Are they really even watching those teams, right? Is a casual watching the Pelicans? I don't think so. I think they are watching the good teams like the Thunder, the Spurs. I think they're watching like the Pistons. I think they're watching these teams and are interested in the meaning of those games, rather than if the Jazz lose 2 more games, then they get their pick instead of the Thunder. I don't really think that matters to a lot of the casual fans. I think that matters more to the diehard fans, and I think that diehard fans looking forward to tanking is a good thing, especially as someone who has been rooting for my team to tank for many years, and with the direction that my Suns are going, I want them to lose after this magical run, right? I don't know how long it'll last. I don't know what it means for next year. I don't know if these players will even be back. But I want teams to be able to lose and be able to obtain good players. That's kind of it I have for tanking. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? Yeah, that's about it. See ya.